Okay, so my last recording took way too long, so I'm gonna re-record and try to speed through it. So if I'm talking fast, that's why. You'll notice that I only have one div. I created a baseball field for my shape, and I have the div that has the class of field. So on the first line, I have a position of absolute. This number one makes it into a block element. Number two unlocks the top and left things so that I can position it exactly where I wanted it to be. I use these left 200 pixels, so it's bringing it 200 pixels from the left of the screen, or the left of its parent element, I believe. The top 75 pixels from the top, and so it is there just so that it's not like squished over here. So that's why I did that. Transform, I rotated it 45 degrees, so naturally the div shape would be like a square like this, like my mouse is going, but with the rotation I made it like this so that it was a diamond, 45 degrees. The border top and border left, solid green. What you're seeing is you don't see any of the div actually, because I didn't even give it a height and width, so the div isn't even showing. All of this green is actually just the border that I created. And so the top is 180 pixels out, or the top goes this way, and the left goes this way. The border radius gives it the rounded edges, 120 pixels here, and then 40 pixels on the sides for the rounded effect. And so that creates the initial green diamond. I guess I'll show you this super fast. I was playing with border image. You can use border image to like put an image into the border. Obviously, the reason that I decided not to do it was because number one, it doesn't look as cool as I thought it would, and number two, you can't have a border radius. You'll see that my border radius isn't working anymore, and so with the border image you can't have rounded edges. I didn't like that, so I just didn't use it, but it is cool, so you could look it up if you feel inclined to. Moving on, the after field is going to be this sandy part here. So the content is required for before and after, but I just left it blank because I didn't want any text or anything in there. Once again, the positioning is the same as the other element. It unlocks the left, right, bottom, top. I positioned the sand exactly where I wanted it to be. And I made it into a block element by using absolute. I think that's explained well. I gave it a height and width, so the div is actually this green square here. The sand, it doesn't have a background though, so you're still seeing the initial border for the green, but it is right here, and then you'll see the border is that sandy color, and then obviously the border radius is giving it the rounded edges there to make it look like a baseball field sand. So the field before is the pitcher's mound. So once again, the content is nothing. Absolute makes it block as well as unlocks these left top height, or the left and top in this case, so that I could position it where I wanted it to, which I did. Height and width 10 by 25, and so actually the div itself is the white, the pitcher's mound base, and then the border is the sand. So I rotated it at negative 45 because it would naturally be 45 degrees already, because the original field class div is 45 degrees rotated. So like naturally it would be like that, so I had to rotate it negative 45 so that it sat like this. The background color, I made it an off-white, and then the border top, left, right, bottom. This is what's creating the sand around it. That's the border. And then the border radius. The reason I did 42 pixels, this part was kind of tricky for me. If I had made them 50 pixels and made this a perfect circle, then the base would have been an oval, which just looked really weird. So 42% was what I found to be made the base look pretty square still, or rectangular, as well as getting enough rounded shape. So that was a little tricky to do, but it has the border radius to make the rounded edges. I just couldn't be perfectly round because it would have rounded the div as well for this size at least. So that's the walkthrough on every line of code in my CSS to create the baseball field. Comment on my post if you have any questions.